wasn't
Okay.
even going at all.
Wow.
At my place of work, we couldn't even do much work because of the network issue. So it's serious. Okay, so let's see. I've shared my screen. So what we are working on is how do we relate with data, right? We have done something on NumPy and we have done a bit about pandas. If we are not in the section, the classes, all our classes are recorded. You can always go back. There is a link to the entire file for you to go back to what we have done previously. Or what you need to do is to sort the folder by the link, sort it from of recent so that you can see our past lectures. Do you get it? So that is what I will say on that. So in case you have missed a class on NumPy, you have missed a class on pandas, let's try to revisit it. The videos or the recordings are available. You can always reach out to me to give you access to the folder. And once you have access to it, sort it. Once you sort it, then you can use it. But still at that, I said there are two types of pandas when we're actually working with pandas. Pandas, when we talk about numerical Python, which is NumPy, it helps us to do a lot of scientific computing, right, and mathematical operation in Python. And another thing here, it makes faster. And we explain the different dimensionality of it. We have the one dimension, we have the two dimension, right? The one dimension of it is more of an array, or we can say something like a vector. The two dimension of it look like a matrix, right? And three dimension of it is a tensor, although we couldn't talk about anything about the three dimension because we don't really need that for now. Now, for pandas, one thing about pandas is built on top of NumPy. You have the NumPy as the base. You now build some layers to it. So those layers, everything now combined to form what is called pandas. I hope you're getting this. And pandas makes it so easy for us to work with our data set, real world data set or data frame. That is one good thing about pandas. And because of that, there are some future, because pandas is now built on NumPy. So you cannot only work on data set. It doesn't give you access to work on real world data set, but it's also give you access to all the mathematical operation you can do in NumPy. You can easily perform it with pandas as well. So more of it's a win-win thing, right? So it's a double-edged sword. You can work with data sets. You can still use the mathematical operation that is built inside NumPy, inside pandas automatically as well. So like I said, we can always revisit our past lecture. So can anyone see my screen? Sorry, can we see my screen?
Yes, you can see your screen.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So before I go on, quick one. We said there are two types of pandas introduces two new data structure. Can someone quickly recall two new data structure that pandas introduces? We talked about it the last time. Anybody?
Pandas says pandas.
Pandas what?
Pandas series.
Pandas series
and data frame. Pandas data frame.
And thank you.
Pandas
series
data
and panda
frame.
Yeah. I get it. So the panda series is what you have seen. Is very similar to your NumPy, also very similar to your list. But data frame is what we have not really explored very well, right? So and I think we talked about data frame at some point, and I talked about location and integer location. Do you recall that?
Yes.
So if you cannot, that is not a problem. We are still going to talk about it. But I won't want to go over the pandas series again because of the limited time we have. So we are moving straight in this data frame. If you have questions, you can always ask, please. So I hope we all have an idea of what pandas can do. It helps us to work with real life data sets, right? And because most time as a data science or data analyst, this is what we be relating with. So most time, one of the most essential tools of a data science of a data analyst is one, in as much you're working with Python, is NumPy and pandas. You cannot do without it. So they help you with mathematical computation. They help you with training your data set. They help you with analyzing your data set as well. Another thing you need is now visualization, which is where matplotlib comes in or Seaborn comes in. But for now, let's see what we can do with pandas. All right. So what I've been working on today is not Google Colab that we are very used to. I'll be using Jupyter environment. So if you don't have Jupyter Notebook, maybe you might want to install it. If you have it and you have not been using it, then maybe it's time for you to use it. So it makes it very faster instead of using our Google Colab. So Google Colab is also very fast, right? If we want to do this, all we have to do is to put our data sets directly into our Google Drive, which is one way that can actually make it faster. But Jupyter Notebook, since I have my data set, and another thing is, if you haven't downloaded data set is on the group. So the data set is actually called data itself. So let's try to download that. All right, so let's see. So this is my local Jupyter Notebook. Then let me go to desktop, which is OneDrive. And I hope I'm recording. I think so. If I go to desktop, I go to data account here. So this is where I store most of my this thing. So I think I have pandas open. Let me see if there's anything here. Okay, so this is you can see I think I'm going to share this lecture note with us. So these contain most of the pandas series that we talk about as the lecture notes. All right, so we can always go through this. Let me try and share this with us so that we can have access to it. Let me download this HTML. Before that, let me run some of this. Let me run some of this thing. Sister Timdayo, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. What are
Good
we trying
evening.
to achieve here when we say import pandas as? Yeah, good evening. Oh,
Yes,
can
sir.
you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I said, what are we trying to achieve here when we say import pandas as PD?
We want to work with pandas.
Exactly. So when we say as PD, it's more of how do I put this? To just make it easier for us to, instead of typing the entire PD, you just want to use a short alphabet for that to represent that. All right. So in this particular case, remember I said if you want to create the panda series, the syntax you use is pd.series. So series is a function inside your PD, right? So or a method inside your PD library. All right. So that is what that means. So and inside it, you can say data, then comma, index. So if you come in here, we have created a particular data series and we now label our index here to be this. So we have talked about this also in the past. So we can always go through the notes. So I want to, and there are some features or information that we can take a look, that we can always look at in our series. We have shape, number of dimension, and size. We have that as well. So let me run this. Let me run this. So there are some questions we ask. Let me run this. I have all of this thing. Let me come here to run this. Run this. All right, so let's just continue. All right, so what we now want to work with is now data frame. So what we said about data frame is data frame help us to, it's more of our data set structure, right? Where you have your data in columns and each column has a header. So that is a basic one. But how do we even create that? Remember, let me start from the very beginning. For to work with pandas, we need to import pandas. So what we need to do is to say, can you see my screen very well? Is it visible enough? I should make it bigger. Sorry, is my screen fine? Is it okay like this? Are we good with it?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All right, so we come here and says import as PD. So that's the first thing we need to do for us to have access to pandas, right? So after we have gotten that, then the next thing is let's create a sample data set. Do we get it? So to create a sample data set or a data frame rather, so, So when we say data frame, we are creating a tables, right? So we are creating it manually using pandas. Do we get it? So instead of you importing a table as an Excel file or CSV file, you want to create it manually, just like you have those 10 people in class and you want to list their names and their age, for instance. So you can easily do that quickly in using your pandas. So to do that, what we'll be doing here is to represent them as a dictionary. So when you want to create data frame, one of the easiest way to do that is to create it as a dictionary. Remember, in dictionary there are two objects inside dictionary. We have the keys and values. So I will now come here and say my data set equals, please, if you have question, just try to remember when we're talking about dictionary, what we are using is braces, right? So inside the braces, you now have the key, you now have the value. So what will represent your key is the header of that particular dictionary. So I can come here and say, let's say the first column I have, the header is cars. So I come here and say cars. Then the next thing is, what are the rules? What are the items you have on that particular columns, right? So I can say we have inside my car, the first will be BMW. Then the second item we have that will be Volvo. The next item. Now, what we are telling pandas here or data frame here is there are 3 rows beside the header inside our data set. So I can now come down here and say the second item we have is passing. So we can now have what are now the values. So the value we now represent, it should be represented inside the list, but the number has to be equal to the number of the first testing. If not, it represents it as an empty row. So in this case, I can say we have just 3 BMW, we have 7 inside a pack, and we have 2 Ford. So once we have this, then we can run this. Now, if I come here and print my data set, you can see that this is printed as a dictionary. Now, I want to convert this dictionary, I want to convert it into a table. So what we should be expecting is we should have 2 columns and we should have 3 rows inside that particular data frame. And how do we now do that? So remember, for us to create a table or a data frame, we have to use pandas for that, right? So what is the syntax to do that? I can come here and say my cars. Then remember, so we have imported our pandas PD. So instead of typing the entire pandas because we want to make use of the data frame, I can come here and say PD. So that's exactly what this means. Instead of typing pandas, you can use PD and it still represents your pandas. Everything pandas can do, PD can still do it. So that's just that's just what it means. So I can come here and say PD equals to what? So what's the syntax to do that is PD.data frame. Then inside that I can now come here and say my data set is my data set. So we're now passing the dictionary that we have created earlier. So if we try to run this, we have this, and I come down and say I want to print my cars. Print my cars. So you can see what we have here now. So what does that mean? We have this first column, and the car is the header. We now have another column that is what passing. So what that means is we have inside BW, we have BW, and we have 3. We have Volvo, we have 7, and 4. We have 2. Do we all get how we can create a data set using pandas data frame? Is this clear? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, Papa. You can
So
hear me.
what I did now, is it clear? Is it clear? Is it clear? Hello? Sister Lima, are you still there? Mr.
Yes.
Samson, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I said what I did now, is it clear? Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear. Yes.
All right. So what I'm going to do now is Sister Limam, are you the one responding?
Yes.
All right. So I want you to create a data set that contains 3 columns. The name of, you are going to just tell me what to type, right? The name of 4 students, any name of 4 students, random students, their age, and their state of origin. So once you have that, so tell me what to do. Let the very fast, please, because of time.
Please, what's the question again? Can you very well?
Can you hear me very well now?
Yes.
Okay. Create a data set that has 4 students. It has 3 columns. The first column will be called student. The second will be age. The third column will be state of origin. Now, okay, that is just it. Create a data set that contains 3 columns with 4 name of students, their age, and their state of origin. So tell me what to type.
Okay. Um, students.
Students. Okay.
Okay. Equal to sign.
Equals to
Braces.
braces.
Name.
Name like this, right?
Yes,
Okay.
with swing. With quotes rather.
All right. Continue. Okay, I've even
Semicolon.
opened this.
Yeah.
Semicolon. Continue.
Another square bracket.
Square brackets. Okay.
And three names back.
4 names.
4. Okay. Any name.
Yes, any name, any
Quote,
name, any name.
Tola, any name. Okay. Tola, comma, Titi, like that.
Sorry,
Like that.
let me just take it back. You said Tola Ehe, Titi Ehe. Oh yeah,
Tolu,
Tolu Ehe,
and Lola.
Lola. Okay. After that, hello. Can you still hear me? I think you can. So we have created the first column. Please, let's continue. Time is going on.
Okay. Comma.
Comma Ehe.
At the back of the square bracket.
Yes, I've done that.
So now like age.
Age. Okay.
Colon again.
Column again. Ehe.
Square bracket.
Square brackets.
5, like 5 with, okay, 6, 8, like that, like that. And
Like that.
no.
So what should I put? Okay, let's say 10. Okay, after that. The network is quite small, but what was the next thing to put here?
Hello.
Hello, yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
I can't see your screen again.
Mr. Thompson, can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Let me rejoin.
Yeah, please rejoin. So, Mr. Sampson, please help me to complete this data frame that we are creating. So the last part is the state. What should I type? Hello, Mr. Sampson, are you still there?
Hello?
Yes, I said.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you help us to complete this data frame we are creating?
Okay. I think
You can't hear.
the state.
Okay, the state, Abby. So we have states.
Yes. Yeah, state. Okay. Now that's
So what's next thing?
square bracket. Then the first state, the name of the first state.
Lagos state.
Lagos, then command, then braces. I mean, column,
Quotes, right?
Ekiti. Yeah, quotes Ekiti.
Ekiti, Kete. Okay. After that.
Then other states. Let's say Ogun. State.
Oh yeah, so sure. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have done this.
Then
Okay.
bracket.
I think we are good with this now. What's
the
next
next
thing to do now? We have created our dictionary. What's next thing to do?
I think you need to scroll down. I did capture. See that? I didn't capture the
other part.
the other part. I think
I should capture it. Let me see. Sister Timda, are you there?
I am partially yes.
Partially. Okay. So which means you might not capture it as well.
Please scroll down. Let me or up. Let me see the.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll scroll up.
Okay. Okay. The next thing is
So I'll scroll up. That should be enough. So what's next thing to do?
Oh. Okay, the next thing is we print. Is it print? I didn't capture the. Oh God. No.
Print. Okay. I want to make sure that we are all following.
This is the place I want to check here.
Okay. So if at any point you are not getting something, just come and attention to it. Okay. So what is next thing to do? So let me help you somehow. Now let's create a data set from this dictionary that we have. So you can say student data, right? Equals to. So how do we now create a data set from the dictionary? What will it be? Who else is here on the call? Sister Lima, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So what's the next thing to type here after creating the dictionary? What will it be?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see your screen now.
All right. So what will it be?
Data. Oh, okay. Let it go. That'll be places, name, age, and
No, we have completed this. We have completed this part. The next thing is,
Oh.
how do you create a data set from this dictionary? That's the next question.
Please scroll up. So let's check the.
I'll scroll up.
Oh, okay. PD dot data frame.
All right. So what are we creating now? What will it be, Mr. Sampson?
I didn't capture this. Is step slow.
That will be PD dot data frame.
PD
Parentheses data frame.
Now the data frame like this, but remember in the data frame, the D is capital letter, the F is capital letter. So let's not write it. If you write it different way,
Okay.
Python is case sensitive. We won't
That
have
the
the
student
desired result.
data.
So we are going and see data frame. Print this, then we can come down here and print our student data. So we now come here and say print student data. So we can see we have our header and we have 4 columns, right? So I believe we all know how to create a data set now from data frame. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So once we have been able to do that, the next thing now is I mentioned something to us about an index, right? Can we recall that? Can we recall?
I'm not saying you should play in there.
Yeah, you said index label starts from 1. Can you hear me?
Index starts from where?
Index label.
Now, yeah, hey, we have a data frame, right? Look at our now. There's something called default index in Python. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can anyone hear me? Exactly, index label, right? Now we have index label. We have it in Panda series. We also have it in data frame as well. So exactly. Now you can see each row here has a particular label. For example, the row of Tola, 5, and Lagos. This form the first row, but their label is what? Their index is 0, just like your index you have in your list, right? Now the second row is TT, 6, and Ekiti. The label is what? Is 1, right? The third is what? Tolu, yes, Abi, and the label is 3. So this is what we call the index. One interesting thing about this is, although 0, 1, 2, 3 forms the default label, we can always come here and change our index depending on what we want. If you don't want to identify each row as 0, 1, 2, 3, we want to identify them as another thing. Let's say student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4. So anybody that is reading this will be able to understand it, as opposed to 0, 1, 2, 3. We can also make use of that. So what we are going to do here is to come here and say, when we are converting this to student, what we need to do is to come here and say we have index, and our index will be equals to, come here and says student 1, comma, can anyone hear me? Student 2.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, student 3 and student 4. So if you run this, come here and run this. So you can see, as opposed to 0, 1, 2, 3, each row now has different label. So which means when someone is reading this thing, because if you give this data set to someone, all what they see is name, age, and state. They didn't know whether this data set is for students, or this data set is for traders, or this data set is for workers, right? Or this data set is for, it's for anything, right? But once they see student 1, student 2, student 3, it makes more sense that, okay, this data set is for students, and the first row represents the first student, the second represents the second student. That is how we can always play around it. Don't forget, this still follows the same thing that it has when we are creating our Panda series. Remember the syntax for Panda series. What do we say? PD in bracket data. Then the next thing is what? Index, right? And when we are creating it here, what do we say? We say index equals to this, right? So the same thing also. The only difference is when we are creating our data frame, instead of us to say pandas.series, when we are creating a series, we come here and say pandas.data frame. What comes first is still data, right? Then the next thing is index. But to make it easier, instead of creating our data directly inside our pandas, we created it separately using dictionary. So this is exactly what I'm trying to say. If you look at this now, this still follows the same formula, right? We have our pandas instead of data series, we have it as data frame, right? Then what do we have? Students. Students represent our data, right? And what is our data? We have defined it somewhere else. We just call it inside these parentheses. Then the next input here is or argument is what is the index. So then we have it this way. Any questions so far before we continue? Do you have any question here?
No.
Okay. So what is the first data frame that I created? I created cars, Abby. So instead of students, so we can come here and say print cars. Okay, my cars. Sorry. My cars. All right, so a quick one. Don't forget the dictionary of this is my data set, right? So I can come here and print in my data sets. So we have this data set. So Sister Lima, this question is going to you. Are you there?
Yes.
Now, this my cars as a data frame. Remember the index here is 0, 1, 2. I want to change this index to car 1, car 2, car 3. Remember, we have created this data frame from this data set dictionary. So how do we change this in indices? Right from 0, 1, 2 to another indices, car 1, car 2, car 3. Can you tell me what exactly to type for us to achieve that? So we want to change this indices to another thing, car 1, car 2, car 3. Can you tell me what to do?
Okay, that will be okay. That will be car equal to PD dot data
Cars.
from cat
Thank you.
equal to
PDs dot data frame.
and
Okay.
open brackets parenthesis
Open brackets.
car
Parenthesis car.
comma cats
Comma
equal to
cars.
okay index
Wait.
hello, can you hear me?
What create as P dot data?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, so what's the first thing I'm typing inside this parenthesis?
That will be my car.
Okay. My cars. Are you sure?
Yes. I'm sure.
No, it's okay. Continue. My cars. So what's the
Comma.
next thing?
Comma
Comma.
index
Index.
equal to
Equals to
open bracket car 1 comma
bracket
car
like
2,
this.
comma oh show me, I'm just in the
Is it what you're
middle.
talking
Anything to screen up.
Okay, you can't see my screen.
I'm not seeing any. I can see your screen, but me it doesn't. Oh, you can.
Issue here. So okay, so because of that, let me just help you out. So this is not my car. You are right with almost every other thing. This supposed to be my data set. Remember, what we are passing inside our PD.data frame is our dictionary, right? Not another data frame. Do you understand? So what we are going to do here is it is my data set that's dictionary. So it is inside that dictionary that we are creating a data frame. So instead of coming here to say my car, so this will be my data set. data
data
set.
set.
And this will not be
The bracket is not correct.
parentheses.
I said open bracket. I didn't say parenthesis.
Open bracket. What type of bracket? Parentheses is another bracket now. In fact, parentheses is what most of people. So you are saying square bracket back.
Mhm.
Hello.
No, not parenthesis. The other one that looks like brace. That braces.
Are you talking? You're talking about square bracket, back.
Okay, square brackets.
Okay, that is what I was expecting. So K1, K2, K3, then we can now come here and do this. So once we have this, we can run this and come back down here and say print cars. So once we have this printed, what do we notice? So instead of having our indices as 0, 1, 2, 3, which comes by default, we have changed it to our own personal index label. And I think this is clear. Mr. Sampson, do we get this?
No, I didn't get this one.
Okay. So let me quickly go over it. I want us to stop by 6. This is 5:55. Tomorrow is Monday, right? And we haven't even worked with the data sets that I've sent to the group. So possibly, I don't know how next week could be. I always wanted to organize some classes during the week, but most of the time it doesn't always work out. There are always multiple things for me to do and all of that. All right, but this is not a problem. So let me just go over this again so that we can get what I'm saying. After this index, we are going to talk about LOC and ILOC, which is location and integer location. I hope the time permits us. But if you don't really understand the aspect of these indices, understanding LOC and ILOC might be very difficult for us to get. So because of that, I'm still going to go over it again for us to understand it. So Mr. Sampson, let me confirm. Do you understand how we can create a data frame from dictionary?
Yes. Yes.
We understand it, Adi. Now,
Yeah.
okay, that's good. So one thing that comes with every data frame that we are creating, is what is called, we call that in under list, what I call that is positional index. The same thing, what comes with a data frame is what is called index labeling. So index labeling means each rows, we have a particular index number for us to be able to identify them. And by default, just like your list, the index of a list comes with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? When you're counting from the back, it comes with -1, -2, -3. Don't forget that.
Yes.
The same thing is also happening inside your data frame. The only frame is appearing as a table, right? The data frame is appearing as a table, and each row is what that index is identifying. So which means the first row, we have its index to be 0. The second row, we have its index to be 1. The third row, we have its index to be 2. Do you understand?
Okay.
So that's
Yes.
exactly what I'm saying. So which is why when we come here and say, I don't know if I should quickly create one, or let me just quickly, okay, let's just say boys, right? And quickly open a dictionary and says the first person is name of that particular boy. Then I can come in here and open a square bracket and say the then comma, the second boy is Akin. Come in here and let us create another thing and call it, say, height of these boys. Then we can now come in here and say the first height is 6, the second is 5. So we come here and so we have created a dictionary. Remember, to create a data frame from this dictionary, what we need to do is to come here and say boys data set or boys data. Then I will now come here and say pd dot data frame. Don't let us forget that data frame. Then inside this data frame, open. Then we now come in here and call in the dictionary boys, right? So once we call this, we run this. If we come down here, what do we say? We now say print boys data. So if you run this, what do you notice? This is the first column label, the first column title, right? Or header. This is the second header. What do we notice? That the first row is Toib, with the height of 6. The second row is what? Arcing with the height of 5. What comes with it? You can see index label now comes into place.
Just
So this is
label,
by default. The first label, exactly. The first label is 0. The second label is what? Is 1. If there is a third row, automatically the label will be 2, right? So 0, 1, 2, that is how it works. So this is what is called an indexing label or index label. Now, one thing I was saying is this label, although it is here, just like you have it in your list, the only one of the difference it has with a list is that this labeling can be changed in data frame. You can choose that you don't want it to be 0, 1. You can decide whatever index label you want to use. Do we get it? And that will now be decided, or that should be changed when you are creating your data frame. Remember, we created our data frame with pd.data frame, and we pass in our data, which is the boys. That is the dictionary we created earlier. So we can come in inside this pd.data frame and pass the second argument. So the second argument will now be the index. It will carry the word index. You cannot define the new index you want to use as opposed to 0 and 1. Do you understand? But don't forget, your index has to be the same number of rows that you have. If you have 2 rows, you are defining 2 label. Do you understand? So we put that also inside your list. Then come here and says this should be boy 1 as a string, boy 1, then comma boy 2. So if you run this and you come down here and you run this, so what do you notice? Instead of 0, 1, you change this to what?
Change
Boy
it
1
to
and
the
boy
1.
2.
It's
Is this clear?
clear.
Very clear, but or still not that very clear?
It's clear. It's clear.
Okay. All right. So the section is also recorded. We can always go over it to check it out. So that is you creating your data frame from a dictionary and changing or deciding whatever index you want to use. One last thing that I would like to talk about is what if I want to locate a specific aspect of my data? I want to locate some part of it, right? So for example, I want to call in the first row. I want to call in the second row. How do I identify that for me to be able to do that, right? That is where what is called location comes in. There's 2 things I mentioned here the last time. Let me go over it so that we can see what exactly I'm talking about. Okay, let's see. Let's see. I'm not sure we discussed that here. So single index label, and we have multiple index label. But I thought, sister Lima, are you there?
Yes.
The last time that we had a class, I mentioned that there are 2 ways we can access our data, right?
Yes.
We can access item from our data frame. Can you still recall?
Index label and index number.
Index label and index number. Thank you very much. I just want to confirm that we got that part exactly. So we have this. So, but don't let me get it confused, right? So, okay, let me just explain that way so that it will reinforce what you have learned together. So, accessing an item inside our data frame, accessing items. So there are 2 ways we can do that. The first one is just like what Sister Lima has said, index label. So we can use index label to access an item. And the second part here is using index number. A quick one. When we say index number is what comes by default. Index number is coming as, remember, our index number starts from what? 0, 1, 2, 3 bar. So that is what index number is. So index number is what comes by default. While the second part here is called index label. So index label can be what we define. Remember, index can be changed, right? Whatever we define is called the index label. Do you understand? But what's come by default is what is come by index number. We call it number because what's come by default in indexing under data frame is a number, but the number starts with 0, 1, 2, 3. Why index label? It can be a number, it might not be a number, depending on whatever we choose to define. Is this clear, Mr. Sampson, before I continue? Do you understand this accessing an item? Mr. Samson, are you there? Or
Yes,
should I just go right quickly?
yes, I can understand.
Am I? Okay, exactly. So index label is what we choose when we are defining our data frame. Index number is what comes by default. Now, I just want to quickly summarize it. So to use an index label, what we use is called location in data frame. And that location can be summarized as LOC. Do we get that? For index number, remember it is a number, right? So which means we are trying to access this item with a number, and a number means an integer, right? So we have it as integers, but integers what? Integers location. So because of that, on inside this data frame, we call it ILOC. So which means when we are accessing our item, either rows or any part of our data set, if you are accessing them with the label that we have defined, we call that LOC. If you are accessing it by what comes by default, it is called ILOC. Is that clear? So LOC, if you see that in a code, that means location. And what should come to your mind is dealing with label. The second thing is ILOC, and what should come to your mind is we are using default index. We start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so the next question is now, how do we use either LOC or how do we use ILOC? That's the next thing we are going to take a look at. So I don't know. Is this clear? Can I move ahead? We have spent more than the time we have. I plan to spend here, but everywhere is still busha. Sorry, can anyone hear me? Can we continue?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
So we can continue, back.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's come in here. Let's use LOC first. Then we're now going to use ILOC. So, a very simple example. So we have created a data frame that is boys, right? And it has 2 rows. And these rows can be identified as boy 1 and boy 2. So for one thing I can do here, I can come here is I want to locate the first item here, the first row. I will now come here and says print boy data dot. Now, if I want to print in the first row, all I need to do is to say dot LOC, put in square bracket and come in here. What part of the LOC I want to identify? I want to print out boy 1, right? So if I print this, what do you notice? What comes in here is what? The name. Remember, boy 1 is Toib and IT6, Abi. So what comes out here is for boy 1, the name is what? Toib. The height is what? 6. So what have we used to locate our first row here? We have used location, which means or the index label. Is this clear or not that very clear?
Not clear.
It's not clear.
It's not clear.
It's okay. That is not a problem. It's not clear, but it's okay. So let me go back to cars. Print cars. So we have defined our cars. Our cars is a data set with 2 columns, right? The first column, the header is cars and passing. How many items do we have there? We have car 1, which is BMW, and that's the first row. We have second row. We have the third row. If I want to print out the third row in terms of LOC, I will be referencing my third row with the index label, which is car 3. Are we getting it? If I want to print the third row with my ILOC, which is the index number, I will not use car 3 in this case. What I'm going to use is 2. And do we know the reason why we are using 2? Hello?
Yes. Yes.
You know the reason why we are using 2, because it starts with what? 0, 1,
0.
2. It doesn't really matter whether it is showing or not. That is default. Do you understand? So if I want to print in the last row, someone says, "Yeah, print me the last row you have there." So what I'm going to do is I have 2 options. Either I come here and says I want to reference it with the index label, which is car 3 that I've defined, or I want to use what comes by default, which is 2. So, and how do we now do that? Remember, if you are using the label, we are using LOC. If you are using the index number, we are using ILOC. So what we are just going to do is to come here and say print, instead of saying print cars, I will say print cars dot, what do you want to use it? Location, right? So automatically, once you see this location, you are not using the index number. That doesn't mean you cannot use a number, or you're not using the index number, because a number can actually be the default, the index you define. So I can come here and say location is here, but in this particular case, I won't be putting my index number. What I'm going to put is index label. So I can come here and say I want to see what is in car 3 and print this. So what do you see? We have our cars to be Ford header. The second header is passing and the number is 2. That is why when you say LOC of car 3, you can see the cars. This cars is representing the first column. This person representing the second column. They will now tell you the actual value that is inside that, which is the Ford. They will tell you the value that is inside that, which is 2. Is this gotten now? Is this clear?
Yes. Yes.
We are sure about. So, Sister
Yes.
Liman, if I want to print the same Ford and 2, but instead of using car 3, I want to use index number, what do you think I'm going to do?
That will be print.
Print
Print brackets. Okay, cars.
parenthesis,
Okay,
cars
cars dot
dot
ILOC.
ILOC,
Okay, square brackets.
square brackets.
Car. You said car two bar. Okay, car two bar.
The index number.
That would be 1.
No, I'm printing the same car 3, car 3,
Okay,
car 3.
okay, 2. 2.
2.
2. So can you see that? Do you notice that you have the same output? The only
Yes.
difference is here you are using the index label, here you are using the index number, and that's the difference between the LOC and ILOC. So if I want to print BMW using index number, what I'm going to do, index number, I want to print in the first row. What will it be? Mr. Sampson, can you please help us with that?
BMW. Okay, let me see. I want to check the index. Okay, it's just
So this is
okay,
data set.
BMW. Okay. All right. Just
So what we
print bracket cars dot. Is it
cars
index? I mean, are we using index number or index label?
index number? Yes, index number.
Index number. So okay.
Yes.
Dot
Okay.
ILOC
ILOC.
square bracket
Square brackets
0.
0. Can we print this? Yes. Do you see that we have what exactly we are expecting? So that is, and this is where we're going to stop for today. So I'm going to send an assignment. Again, if I did not, please try to reach out to request for it. The same thing if you need the recording of this aspect. I think I might even make this available on our YouTube channel. Who hasn't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet? Mr. Sampson, have you subscribed to our YouTube channel?
No, I've not.
Imagine. Sister Alima, have you subscribed to our YouTube channel?
No.
Yeah, no need. Sister Temidayo, have you subscribed to our YouTube channel?
She's not here.
Okay, she's not here again, right? Who else is there?
Yeah. Nobody. It's just the two of us.
Okay.
It's
All right. So please, I'm going to make this available. But don't you watch the last portfolio video I sent on YouTube? Or you don't watch it through the, but you don't subscribe. Imagine.
Can we get or how can we subscribe? Send the link.
I'm going to share the YouTube link. Yeah, but like I said, I'm going to make this available too. Just this available on YouTube, right? So please try and subscribe. It's okay. So thank you very much for this. I hope. Do we have any questions generally before we call it a day?
No. And so you said something about stack position. I didn't hear network you're done. Like,
What I said is okay. Let me take this out of this part, right? Because I'm going to like I said, I'm going to upload this on YouTube. So
oh, okay.
I'll message you on that. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a nice weekend. Weekdays ahead. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Super.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
sir. All right.